clearly visible in front of all of us. However, the majority of mankind wants to take the path of evil. This is the nobility which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to all of al-insan, the ability to judge that which is right and that which is wrong. And that's why we find, unfortunately, that on a long journey, everybody will discuss every single aspect of their life. They will discuss that. But when it comes to the topic, you say to them, do you know we're going to die one day? That person will say, stop there. Don't carry on this discussion anymore. That is enough. Even though this is the greatest reality that will hit insan, but he refuses to discuss this topic, feeling shy about this topic, or not recognizing the truth about this topic, that he has to return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And all of this is known as umur al-ghaybiyat, the unseen affairs. Whatever will happen to an insan in the barzakh, in the interspace, or inside the grave, or towards the akhirah, is all unknown. Only belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the whole Quran begins with this message in Surah Al-Baqarah, that this is the book that there is no doubt, no discrepancy. For those people, الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ, who believe in the unseen. This is the teaching after Surah Al-Fatiha, that the whole this Quran, whatever it mentions about the akhirah, it's unseen, unseen affairs. And the believer should strongly believe in that which will happen to the individual. And we want to look at our perception of al-maut. Forget about these filthy people, because this world is a paradise for these people. Ad-dunya sijnul mu'min wa jannatul kafir, aw kama qala sallallahu alayhi wasallam. That this dunya is a prison for the believer and a paradise for the disbeliever. Look at them in these days of ayyamul kufr, in these days of disbelief, how they will celebrate, commit all types of atrocities. They will do this because this is their paradise. As for the believer, all types of richness, all types of beauty, all types of wealth, all types of property, he is still bound by the sharia of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wherever he is. That's why the dunya is forever a sijn for the mu'min. And we want to discuss ourselves, not these people, because many of us don't seem to comprehend the understanding of al-maut, because we are suffering from, at the moment, al-wahan, hubbu dunya wa karahatul maut, a love of this world and a hatred for death. Look through the whole of the Muslim empire. That's all that you find at the moment. Buildings after buildings being resurrected, challenging each other for what? One person doesn't like the building, he will demolish it and build another building. This is all hubbu dunya, a love for the dunya and a hatred for death, as the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam stated. And that's how we find the mention of death. Kullu nafsin dha'iqatul maut. Every single soul should taste death. Occurs 3 times inside the Quran, and inshallah we'll analyze these 3 positions in the Quran. Likewise we find, وَمَا تَدْرِ نَفْسٌ مَاذَا تَكْسِبُ غَدًا. No soul will know what it will earn tomorrow. وَمَا تَدْرِ نَفْسٌ بِأَيِّ أَرْضٍ تَمُوتُ. And no soul knows where it will die. This is a promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala of the unseen. No soul knows what it will earn tomorrow, and no soul knows where it will be taken, lifted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Likewise, they find كُلُّ مَنْ عَلَيْهَا فَانٍ وَيَبْقَى وَجْهُ رَبِّكَ ذُو الْجَلَالِ وَالْإِكْرَامِ. Every single thing on this land will perish, will come to an end. وَيَبْقَى وَجْهُ رَبِّكَ ذُو الْجَلَالِ وَالْإِكْرَامِ, except for the noble, glorious face of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Likewise, we find other words like haqq, the truth, musibah, calamity, are all forms of death. And likewise, we find أَلْهَاكُمُ التَّكَاثُرُ حَتَّى زُرْتُمُ الْمَقَابِرِ. The rivalry of this dunya takes you away, حَتَّى زُرْتُمُ الْمَقَابِرِ, until you visit the graves. This is a form of kinaya, a form of speech in the Arabic language, until you return back to the graves, meaning until death comes upon you. وَاعْبُدْ رَبَّكَ حَتَّى يَأْتِيَكَ الْيَقِينَ. Worship your Lord until death comes upon you. That is the meaning of yaqeen in this verse towards the end of Surah Al-Hijr. Continuously worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala until you are lifted up by Him. That is what it means by certainty. Not as the people of Sufiya, who believe that you reach a maqam, a position that you are close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the sharia is abandoned from you. This is the correct interpretation of this verse. You carry on worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala until death comes upon that individual. The first time that we find, كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ وَإِنَّمَا تُوَفَّوْنَا أُجُورَكُمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. That verily you will be given your full recompense on the day of judgment. فَمَنْ زُحْزِحَ عَنِ النَّارِ وَأُدْخِلَ الْجَنَّةَ فَقَدْ فَازَ وَمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا مَتَاعُ الْغُرُورِ. Whoever is saved from the hellfire, that is supreme success. That is the true success on that day. Is saved from the hellfire and thrown into paradise. فَقَدْ فَازَ. That individual is a successful one. وَمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا مَتَاعُ الْغُرُورِ. And the whole of this dunya is one great big deception, as described by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمَا هَذِهِ الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا لَهْوٌ وَلَعِبٌ. What is this dunya except for play and amusement? وَإِنَّ الدَّارَ الْآخِرَةَ لَهِيَ الْحَيَوَانِ لَوْ كَانُوا يَعْلَمُونَ. And a final abode, the final resting place, that is the real home of the believer. That is the real home of the believer. And that's why we find in اعلموا أنما الحياة الدنيا لعب وله. Know for a fact that this dunya is only play and amusement, wazina and beautification, وتفاخر بينكم and mutual boasting amongst yourself, وتكاثر في الأموال والأولاد, in the collection of wealth and children. That is all that this dunya is in front of the masses of mankind. And likewise we find إن الإنسان لفي خسر, that the majority of mankind are forever going towards a state of loss. إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات. That is the criteria in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not just mere iman, just to state that you believe, قالوا آمنا, to believe, but rather actions. That is a part and parcel, as Ahlul Sunnah have described, of iman. That actions, they increase your iman. And obedience, you get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with through the actions. And likewise you decrease in your actions, and you commit ma'asiyah, disobedience, you go further away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why we find that the distractions that we find, فَاتَّقُوا الدُّنْيَا وَاتَّقُوا النِّسَاءِ, fear the dunya and fear the fitna and temptations of women. These are the things that are taking the masses of the people away from the concentration to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If it's not the dunya, then it's the women around them, which is clear fitna. For the first fitna that hit Bani Israel, كانت في النساء, was in regarding the women. This same hadith falls true today, that these same people are using the media, all of the campaigning, the use of a woman to take the youth away from the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And likewise we find that the Muslim forever bears in mind, لو كانت الدنيا تعدل عند الله جناح بعوضة ما سقى كافرا منها شربة ماء. If this world was worth a wing of a mosquito in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He would not have given a drink of water to an infidel, to a kafir. If it was worth something, He would have not even given water to these people. And likewise we find in a famous hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that walking through the marketplace, saw a dead carcass, dead animal lying there, and he said to his companions, who want this? And its ears had been slit. Who wants it for 1 dinar, for 1 coin? They said, verily, even if you used to give it to us free, we would not take it, because really it's deficient. Its ears have been slit. There's some deficiency in this animal. And then the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam stated, O kama qal, that verily the dunya is more worthless in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than this carcass is to you. There's no value to this dunya in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ala inna dunya mal'una, mal'unun ma fiha, illa dhikra Allah wa ma wala, aw a'aliman aw muta'alliman. The whole of this dunya is cursed, and curse whatever is inside this dunya. Illa dhikra Allah, except for the remembrance of Allah and that which is linked to the remembrance of Allah. Aw a'aliman aw muta'alliman, the one who is a scholar or the one who is teaching or the one who is learning. That is what all of us should aspire to be. Apart from the rest of this dunya is cursed in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And likewise you find Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, he mentioned, treat this dunya like you treat the lavatory. You only go inside there for hajjah, to clear your body. That is the only reason why you enter inside it, then you leave it. No person builds his home inside the lavatory. That is the way of the believer. And simply the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, kun fi dunya ka'annaka gharib aw abiri sabil. Be in this dunya as if you are a traveler or a wayfarer, stranger, ghuraba. That's what we are in this dunya. Likewise in another hadith that we find, that what is my example? Mali wa mali dunya. What is my example to this dunya? Except I am a rakib. I am a traveler who sits underneath the tree, and then I get up and I walk away. This was the way of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. A few things that he had, he kept with him, but yet we find that we continuously pile up this dunya. The lavish things that we have in our homes and everything around us, forever thinking that we need all of these things. That is all against the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The second time that we find kullu nafsin da'iqatul maut in Surah Al-Anbiya, that we find وَنَبْلُوكُمْ بِالشَّرِّ وَالْخَيْرِ فِتْنَةً وَإِلَيْنَا تُرْجَعُونَ. Then we make a trial for you through the good and the bad, and then you'll return back to us once again. And the third time we find this verse in Surah Al-Ankabut, كُلُّ نَفْسٍ دَاعِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ ثُمَّ إِلَيْنَا تُرْجَعُونَ. Then once again you'll return back to us. Every single calamity, everything that happens to an individual, فَإِذَا أَصَابَتْهُمْ مُصِيبَةٌ قَالُوا